Hello, BookTube. I have another poem for you today. I figured why not? I was originally thinking maybe to take the weekend off, but we don't have that many days left to be talking to each other. We might as well read a poem every day. I was reading poems from a batch of snippets, of clips that I've done in various magazines over the decades. I found a batch of those just recently when I wasn't expecting to, and I thought, well, if you thought these were good enough to save, why not read them to your imaginary BookTube friends? So I did, and we've gone through that little stack. So I had to go back to anthologies, and I went back to this one. I love this anthology, as you can tell. I love this anthology. Go back to it all the time. It's refreshingly international in a way that a lot of my other poetry anthologies are not. But the poem that I'm reading today is by a naturalized American. It's by Lewis Simpson, and it is Carentan, oh Carentan. And Carentan is a town in Normandy, in France. And the poem, it's not very long. No, it's not very long. Let's just go through this here, and then I'll natter about it when we're done. Trees in the old days used to stand and shape a shady lane where lovers wandered hand in hand who came from Carentan. This was the shining green canal where we came two by two, walking at combat interval. Such trees we never knew. So the action has changed already. Combat interval means soldiers. The day was early June, the ground was soft and bright with dew. Far away the guns did sound, but here the sky was blue. The sky was blue, but there a smoke hung still above the sea, where the ships together spoke to towns we could not see. Spoke here obviously means firing on the towns. Could you have seen us through a glass, you would have said a walk of farmers out to turn the grass, each with his own hay fork. The watchers in their leopard suits waited till it was time and aimed between the belt and boot and let the barrel climb. Finding your mark. The men who are marching. I must lie down at once. There is a hammer at my knee. And call it death or cowardice, don't count again on me. Everything's all right, mother. Everyone gets the same at one time or another. It's all in the game. I never strolled, nor ever shall, down such a leafy lane. I never drank in a canal, nor ever shall again. There is a whistling in the leaves, and it is not the wind. The twigs are falling from the knives that cut men to the ground. Tell me, Master Sergeant, the way to turn and shoot, but the sergeant's silent that taught me how to do it. O Captain, show us quickly our place upon the map, but the captain's sickly and taking a long nap. Lieutenant, what's my duty, my place in the platoon? He too's a sleeping beauty, charmed by that strange tune. Carentan, oh Carentan, before we met with you, we never yet had lost a man, or known what death could do. Which is a poem that Lewis Simpson wrote because he was there. Because he was at Carentan when his famous army deployment unit, the 101st Airborne, was attacked by the Germans in a pretty savage firefight. One of the odd ironies of this poem is that the narrator of the poem says, I must lie down at once. There is a hammer at my knee. Don't call it death or cowardice. Don't count again on me. Everything's all right, mother. Everyone gets the same, and one time or another, it's all in the game. I never strolled, nor ever shall, down such a leafy lane. I never drank in a canal, nor ever shall again. But Lewis Simpson survived the battle. Plenty of his comrades did not, and I'm assuming he's put himself in their mind frame here. And that part is really effective. I have my quibbles with this poem. I know it's been anthologized a million times. It's in this anthology. It's been praised and written about a lot. I have my quibbles with it. That gimmick at the end of working through the ranks, going up in rank from master sergeant to captain to lieutenant, that's a little bit tired. That's a little bit tired, that you're looking to them, this poor panicked wounded soldiers looking to them for guidance, but each one of them is dead. That's a little too World War One instead of World War II. But I love the way the poem gradually transforms the imagery of the beautiful trees and the lovely countryside of Carentan to warfare. even to the point of mixing the bucolic image of farmers with their hay rakes. Only the instruments in every single man's hand is not a hay rake but a gun, and it is going to rake men. It is going to mow down a crop. It's just not a crop in the field. That's all well done. I guess my critical quibble would be that this poem could stand a trip to the sauna. It could be sweated out, have a little bit of the flab sweated out of it. But as a memorial to, I mean, Lewis Simpson was there. He was at Carentan. He was under fire. His entire brigade was under fire, and he survived. And he survived a whole bunch else in World War II. He was at Bastogne. No small thing at all. When I read this poem now, I can't help but think about the absolutely fantastic TV miniseries Band of Brothers. If you have not watched Band of Brothers, if somehow it has passed you by, you just have to watch it. You just have to do that. It is a strange and brilliant production. The first episode is the troop that we're going to follow, Easy Company, in basic training. Far from any action. The main dramatic action in that episode involves, believe it or not, David Schwimmer, Ross from the TV show Friends, who turns in a fantastic performance as an absolute prig of an a-hole commanding officer. Just a marvelous combination of what he does as Ross on Friends. A marvelous combination of officiousness and deep insecurity. Masterfully done. But you're thinking, okay, is this what I'm going to get from Band of Brothers? I mean, so the World War II savagery here is going to be fairly muted. And then in the next episode, we follow the company as they are flying into flak in order to paratroop into occupied Europe. And you see right away that this show is not going to pull any punches when it comes to violence. Then at that point, when you're watching planes get ripped apart and people get burned alive, you wonder, well, okay, is it going to be the opposite then? Are the writers going to avoid finding any Hollywood-style poetics, the standard type of narrative gimmick for Hollywood-style poetics in time of war? And the third episode in Band of Brothers is called Carentan. And it is a feint in the direction of a kind of old Hollywood staple of a story gimmick for World War II, because there's an enlisted man named Blythe, the name is a dead giveaway, who, because of trauma under fire, the very fire that's talked about in this poem, takes on briefly a kind of psychosomatic blindness where he can't see. And eventually he gets out of it, and you're thinking, okay, well, this is a neat little storyline about, among other things that are happening in the episode, it's a neat little storyline about an enlisted man who finds his courage. But the episode ends with just a blank piece of text telling us that he barely outlived the war. That it wasn't any kind of an arc at all. And the episode itself, in the episode, Easy Company walks into Carentan, Carentan. They walk into the town that it suddenly embroils them in savage combat. Absolutely savage combat. In fact, the irony here of this Lewis Simpson poem is that he would have been one of the grunts in that episode. He would have been experiencing that violence, the very thing that is dramatized in that episode. An episode that also does, I think it's one of the first times in Band of Brothers that really shows what it was like if you were walking around as an infantryman in World War II when a tank enters your immediate area. It really is, the way it's filmed in Band of Brothers does a great job of making them virtually the equivalent of Oliphants from The Lord of the Rings, where everything is relatively normal in terms of combat. It's savage. People are getting shot and dying that were in mid-sentence. But it's not, there's no unbeatable supernatural force on the field until the tanks show up. And then all of a sudden, it's very different, amazing. I can't only imagine what it would have been, what it must have been like to film that sequence. It's touching and heartbreaking and thrilling, an adrenaline ride, and also savage. It's everything that is great about Band of Brothers. I can't help but see that now. That is a way that later art has permanently affected. I read this poem before Band of Brothers was made. I read this poem before some of the actors in Band of Brothers were born. and it evoked a lot for me, although I don't think I've ever read it without thinking it was just a little bit heavy-handed. Not bad for a poetry Saturday, but still. I read it long before there was such a thing, and yet Band of Brothers made such an impact on me that I now think of it as that. So there's a poem and a digression, a pop culture digression, because I don't have a channel for movies and TV shows. I don't have a channel for that, so they crop up when they crop up here. But we'll read another poem tomorrow, unless the only excerpt that I can think of, the only exception I could make to reading a poem every day is if I don't make any videos at all on that day. If I make videos, I'll make a poetry video. If I make videos tomorrow, I'll make a poetry video. I'm still dealing with end of the year work, and it's happening now in clumps and clots. I'm facing my own very nerdy fainting couch version of the fighting at Carentan. But at least this poem gave me the opportunity to plug that show. If you have not seen Band of Brothers, you should definitely watch it. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up for now, but I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.